gentlemen. This is Tia with the Arcane Bear and my good friend, the Arcade Bull. We're hugely bullish on the play-to-earn video game space. What an exciting time. And if you've watched my other videos for the last few months, you'll know that I think that this is going to be the adoption curve we've been waiting and looking for. So it's super exciting to see that an on-ramp for billions of people that does not have to in any way communicate with the banks. Hats off. I'm really, really excited about that. But let's start with our true North Star shining bright and free here. Bitcoin? Yeah, Bitcoin. This is the one. There we go. Okay, I believe this is working now. So, fundamental, that's where we start. Currencies have been destroyed by governments and cultures alike for thousands of years. Underlying currencies always get destroyed. The net beneficiary of the destruction of any currency are the assets. In the case of the destruction of a currency, asset prices will continue to inflate. This is what hyperinflation looks like. Well, the currency usually bows down to nothing. Now, this is not a slow process when you have a worldwide currency like the US dollar, and it's likely going to take some time to totally collapse, but one of the reasons why we love Bitcoin is because it helps at least ostensibly move us over some of the problems we're having in this current fiat system and move us into a more voluntary choice system. So we are hugely bullish on Bitcoin for this fundamental reason. And the technicals right now look great too. So for the last few months, we've been following this beautiful accumulation pattern. We saw our spring back in July, our first SOS and LPS through the months of August, September. A lot of people in this time were like, oh my God, it's a dead cat bounce. If you know anything about trading, at least technicals, it was very clear that this was not a dead cat bounce. It's very clear that the market is going to continue bullish. And I think we're probably going to go to around $140,000 before we hit probably around a 2-year accumulation cycle. And then we're moving into the probably $500,000 to $250,000 range, somewhere out near 2024, 2025. That process is usually so chaotic for the new investor that it's almost like a disease. What you end up getting is all this over-emotional trading due to lack of information. Right? A lot of YouTube channels like, oh my God, the price is going to go up, it's going to go down, you can buy here, sell here. None of that matters. The underlying fundamental is the same. We are looking at the destruction of currencies. Therefore, owning assets, especially tech assets that are scalable and adoptable by anyone around the planet, yield huge, massive results. So there's so many confounding factors here as to why this is a good decision to just keep investing and generally ignore the noise. Markets go up, markets go down, but if you have a good investment, you can be buying every day, ignore the price totally, and come out as being one of the world's best investors, at least in terms of gains and percentages for yourself versus almost anything else that you could be doing in life. So when we pair the fundamental underside of the destruction of currencies and the net benefit of the assets, and on the other hand of things here, this very unique prospect for a new digital money, a digital system, for governance, for voting, for all sorts of unique structures, we start to see the new era of finance unfold underneath. And I think it's really, really exciting to be going down this avenue. So Bitcoin has a lot of potential here to go much, much higher. So one of the things that we generally look at here, oh, no charts? Really? Thought we hit the chart. Jesus. Okay, one sec here. Let me try this again. Okay. We were, is it not working? Oh, my little buttons are not working. Okay, well, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. It didn't really need the screen anyways, but there we go. Now it's working. Silly TO. Clearly I'm not super tech savvy. I'm glad any of this works. Okay, there's the chart. It was so early on in the video this time. God damn it. I need my other screen up, I guess. I move around too much. Anyways, the fundamentals of what I was saying stays the same. Here now you can see what I was talking about on a more visual level. I'm not good at this YouTube thing, I don't think. I mean, I love doing it, but I don't think I'm good at it per se. Like, I just have fun doing it. Some people are actually good at this. That's not me. But I feel what I am good at now is at least the audio part of that I feel was very valuable, regardless of if you could see what I was talking about or not. So I'm confident about that part. Articulating and communicating value. So again, this technical chart here is very bullish. I believe it has us running up into the $140,000 range really easily. What I suspect we're going to see is a big accumulation channel. It probably will look like a giant bear flag. Effectively, people will be calling for the bear market. I don't think we're going to get a long, drawn-out 1,200-day bear market like we got in the previous 2013 to 2017, 2017 to 2020 accumulation cycles. I think this is going to be much closer to the 2008, 2011, 2011 to 2013 shorter accumulation cycles. There's just such a better understanding of this sector today than there was back in 2017, where it's so clear what this is capable of now, and all the big names recognize it. Before, in 2017, you're part of a kind of a crazy, weird group of people who are still not appearing to be fully justified. But over the last 5 years, it's become blatantly obvious to anyone who's looking that this actually works, and it does what it's supposed to. And the value that could occur behind these ideas is immense. So because we're hyper bullish on Bitcoin, one of the things we like to do is constantly use this as an area of focus. So this is the Bitcoin percent imbalance on exchanges. The reason why this is valuable to us is because we're looking at the amount of Bitcoin on any exchange. So this is actually all the exchanges combined. So it's like the open market. And in the open market, the volatility will increase massively when you reduce supply. And if you look here to the right, basically since October 16th, as the price has been rising, we've been decreasing in supply. This is a really bullish sign. This is a lot of what we go over in the result and effort thesis of our Wyckoff analysis, is why we look at the supply signatures that are taking place. Ultimately, these things look very bullish for us. And until they change, first off, macro, remember, fundamental is only bullish. Currency has been destroyed by cultures for thousands of years. Like, we can rely on it almost as much as the sun is going to come up, or at least in its appearance. So because of this, it's such an easy play to just consistently invest in Bitcoin and not veer too far outside of that track. Everything looks great. We're going to move to around probably 140, 150,000. I think we'll probably spend around 300 to 400 days after that in a bullish flag accumulation area before probably moving up into the $200,000 to $300,000 area around 23, 25. So there are measures of this. A lot of people use the stock to flow model. I think in general, understanding that Bitcoin is an asset that is costs to create. Now, again, this could change in the future depending on how much it costs to generate the electricity. But right now, the cost of electricity, hiring people, all the cables, the internet, the new miners, the miners breaking down, replacing of the miners, all the work that goes into it is kind of what the stock to flow model represents. And it represents the kind of production cost of Bitcoin on this average basis. That's what I feel, at least. And I think it provides the most valuable insight to what this looks like. So right now, we're actually under the nominal or mean price at the stock to flow. Now, Plan B's stock to flow kind of steps over this gap, but either way, it puts us up near between $250,000 to $500,000 by 2024. This is going to happen so fast, right? So one of the reasons why we suggest always just only accumulating is because the 5 years goes by very quickly. You know, a lot of people get, well, if I jump in now and I'm going to buy the market today, I'm going to sell the top. It's like, you will so often get wrecked doing that than just focusing on a good, solid accumulation plan. That the reason why we keep repeating this mantra is because it basically needs to be repeated. It's so everybody thinks they're going to jump in and outsmart the market. The market is older than you, it will outlive you, and therefore you should do what it wants. And what it wants is these long-term accumulation cycles that are built off the underlying destruction of currencies, because that's the fundamental story here, right? It's so easy to get lost in the noise, like, oh, there's deflation, there's inflation, there's noise, the CPI, the drops, the monetary supply, it's all fucking bullshit noise. I don't know why I bleeped out the all word. It's all bullshit. It's all noise. 90%, 99% of the news you listen to, the comments that people make about what's going on in the sector and the evolution of this thing, it's all fucking noise. Now, there are moments when you have cataclysms within that noise, right? Like say something goes wrong, cataclysmically wrong with Bitcoin, and they're able to produce another 21 million Bitcoins, right? That would be a cataclysmic piece of news that you'd want to pay attention to. And that's an underlying fundamental. But as long as the fundamentals stay the same, we can rely on this upward trajectory, or only up, due to the destruction of the underlying currency. So remember that by 2025, we have us upward somewhere between $500 to $1.2 million per Bitcoin, and that's only 2 to 3 years away from now. So keep that in mind. Don't think so short term. It will only play out for you poorly, or at least 90% of the time it plays out for you poorly. And had you just only accumulated, you would be happier, you'd have more time. And this is the whole reason why why I do these videos. And in the private group, it's why we focus on trying to help educate and really cure that disease and that sickness that most new investors have. The next part that I want to go into just really briefly is big shout out to the Ethereum name server DAO, who generated a token to give the governance structure of the Ethereum name service to the people who had bought an original ETH domain. So you can't see it here because I changed it to .sol and .avalanche. I should add .eth back. I like changing stuff. Anyways, I bought arcanebear.eth approximately 4 months ago. I keep telling people, even though Michael Saylor's right about buying Bitcoin, he's a hypocrite. He made millions and millions of dollars off buying like voice.com. Just one example. Buying early digital assets is a fucking smart idea. Ignore anyone that tells you buying a .eth or a .sol domain is a shitcoin, because they are clearly fucking clueless about what is happening here. And if you want to listen to clueless people, you go right ahead, but the opportunity is in this digital real estate. It's been that way for a long time. Owning voice.com over the course of 5 or 10 years yielded extraordinarily high gains. So don't negate the fact that we might see this entire .com, .net, .org, .gov, .eth, .sol, .avalanche take over again, and that owning assets in that space for the cost that it is really easy. So now it's actually worth over 10 grand. They gave us $10,000 per every .eth name we bought. It cost $30 to buy the name, cost about an hour to figure out what the fuck I was doing. And then they gave us 10 grand in voting tokens. That's amazing. I love this sector so much for this reason. Do not miss out on an opportunity strictly because people try to tell you that digital real estate is not valuable, that Bitcoin's the only digital real estate. They are full of shit. They just don't know what they're talking about. So super exciting about that. If you haven't yet, you can check out this tweet. Go to claim.ens.domains. Make sure you do not end up on any scam sites, ladies and gentlemen. Always double check that there's not like 3 M's or 2 A's or 5 E's or some crazy shit. This is how usually people run scams. Always make sure you're getting these domains from a legitimate service. I consider myself a legitimate and trustworthy service. Anytime you click on these domains, they're going to be exactly what they want. You go ahead, you connect your MetaMask, and if you had bought a .eth, you can claim your ENS tokens. So the ENS token is up at $58.10 right now. That's amazing. Again, that's like $10,000 per ETH domain that you bought in voting tokens for how the Ethereum name servers work. This is again why participating and learning about this ecosystem is so freaking valuable. I remember just connecting my Uniswap wallet and getting a net $10,000 in Uniswap tokens. Like every time you participate, even though you may not directly get rewarded, like I didn't in no way expected the ENS tokens to come out, it does and has happened. Don't count on it, but understand that participating here can yield huge results just through the learning process alone. You are in such a small group of people who are figuring this out right now that the upside is still unimaginable. What happens if you come back 5 years from now and these ENS donate names are worth $580 and they gave you 100 grand in free tokens for doing nothing but buying a digital asset? and understanding that a .eth name is the NFT version of a .com, right? So people, I always suggest you be exploratory, you have fun, you ignore people that are super rigid in their mindset and focus on, oh, this is the only way you can, Bitcoin is the only, fuck all that crap. That's not how this game works at all. There's so many interesting, valuable things that take place, and that's why the markets are fun. Your ability to explore that is going to yield amazing results if you are patient with yourself and allow yourself the opportunity to make a mistake that looks silly. Buying a $500 JPEG that was a pixelated photo of an NFT of a CryptoPunk was actually a very smart idea. But if you were to ask the general population, it's like, well, is buying this an intelligent idea? The majority of people would say no. Being silly, being playful, experimenting, as long as you know the cost to your downside, is a lesson. And lessons are always valuable. Okay, next topic after the airdrop. Let's go straight into, we're going to give Shosh a shout out here. I want to pause this video because it's going to keep playing in the background. So check out ENJINSTARTER if you guys haven't. I was chatting with Altcoin Buzz yesterday. I hadn't seen this yet. I'm super excited about launch pads and how you find your way into this distributed venture capital sector. If you've watched my other videos, you'll know I believe this is the greatest opportunity for average individuals to make extraordinarily large sums of money by doing almost nothing aside from researching, experimenting, being playful, and learning during that process with skin in the game, right? So even a small investment of just $100 into buying an Ethereum name server yielded a 10x effectively on the investment cost. So keeping that in mind, check out ENJINSTARTER. I think they're doing really cool things. I just want to give a shout out to Shosh and Altcoin Buzz as well. I had a great talk with him. We were talking about books. He recommended me a great book I've never heard of called, by Isaac Asimov called Foundation, so I'm gonna check these out too. We were talking about Dune, which also led us to, yes, the video game sector, the play-to-earn video game sector, the post-to-earn sector that I think will develop as well is extraordinarily large. Here we can see Yay Games is building their own launchpad. I'm not as excited about their launchpad as I am excited about the broad spectrum idea, right? Our initial thoughts here of why we invested in Star Atlas and why will we continue to be long-term holders and basically only accumulators of any of these assets is that there's such a massive potential for the adoption curve from this sector. So let's go over Star Atlas as an example and compare it to something like Axes. So I should actually make sure all this is working here again, just with my previous luck. Let's check. Is everything working here? Christian says, you changed my life with Avalanche. Thank you. I'm so glad to hear you guys enjoyed that. Awesome. Everything's going smoothly. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, well, let's go to the full screen here. Okay, so right now what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a cognitive breakdown into Star Atlas, and I want to compare it to Axes for now. So there's a massive amount of speculation in this ecosystem right now because it's warranted, and this is the most exciting part, is that normally there's blatant speculation in things like Dogecoin and Shiba because you have an adoption cycle of something that's fun and playful. There's not a lot of maximalism around these things. People are just like, hey, the thing I'm playing with, like, there's money and upside, it's fun. The internet is supposed to kind of be a fun, like, circus area where you can connect to any crazy old idea you would like. Now, if we focus on the play-to-earn sector, as we started to see Axes develop, if you guys have not seen this yet, this hype beast, if you type in hype beast cryptocurrency game Philippines documentary, this is one of the videos that was shared with me that really changed my mind and why we started to dive into this sector so heavily around May of this year. I didn't understand video games, wasn't an NFT person. We focused solely on like Solana and Avalanche. I know a lot of you guys did really well because of that, but what we started to witness here, if you watch this video's breakdown, is the reason why Axie is so high. So we're going to make a comparative analysis between these ideas right now. One of the most valuable things is I started to be hit up by friends who were messaging me being like, look, I'm basically loaning out these digital NFTs, these Axes. Am I logged in right now? I'm not. We own some Axes ourselves. They're like little cute, fluffy, like Pokemon characters, and you can battle them, and there's strategy to the game, and it's exciting for people. And so the Axes token itself is the governance token, and SLP is the in-game currency. I think it's called Smooth Love Potion. So right now, when you look at Star Atlas, the majority of people are talking about Atlas, which is the in-game currency, and Polis, which is actually the voting mechanism for how the game and the in-game attributes will function in the future. This is where the real interesting part to me is actually within the DAO structure itself. Now, I own both the in-game currency and I'm invested in the DAO itself, and I think the DAO, because its name is different, is actually undervalued right now in comparison. I think most people are focusing on the in-game currency, but let's look at it from this perspective, right? We go back, we do your due diligence. I'll let you guys go through this. This is a fantastic article. It's a fantastic video. I can read it briefly. You've got 111 million people in Manila of the Philippines who've started playing this video game. They're earning this secret love potion. It can be converted, and within this, they managed to earn $20 over the first day, of playing, which is actually larger than their average wage, right? So you have anyone, even at age 75, who's able to play the game, and it's not a physical distressing thing for them. So you have people all around the Philippines who were earning more than your average wage playing this game. Now, my friends were buying the assets because the Filipinos couldn't afford the assets, and actually cost like $800 right now. So they would lend them these in-game assets, right? So one of the things I'm super excited about is, okay, the DAO is this idea of that, how do I own a bunch of digital assets, lend them to other people into the game, have built-in game revenue sharing. You could even do it within multiple factions. You could be like, our team is going to collaborate with this team, and you can like loan to a group of people to produce monetary value and incentive for the network growth and participation of the ecosystem. One of the things people really need to recognize is that one of the reasons why this is so valuable is you are being rewarded for the network effect. You were never paid for your part of Facebook. You were never paid for your part in Instagram. You were never paid for your part in Twitter or the growth of Google. These companies are worth so much because of your value, your data. You are what makes these companies valuable, and you've got nothing but shit from them. Right? Oh, community guidelines and standards, you get nothing back, or whatever we want to change is up to us. This revamps that entire ecosystem, and the DAO is the ability to vote on what these future governance structures and micro shares of these growing network effects look like. And one of the most unique aspects about the video game sector is that if someone is trading their time to earn an in-game asset, they can now earn money without having to go through KYC, without having to go through these large due diligence processes of having to need a bank account to buy crypto. They can earn their way into our ecosystem, and it can onboard billions of people faster than we could have ever gone through the traditional banking system, because the traditional banking system is a fraudulent, corrupt, highly centralized governance structure that really only empowers the few that are able to maintain. Now, if you come up with a great idea and you generate a large amount of wealth, capitalism, we'll call conscious capitalism, is fantastic. So one of the things we want to keep in mind is that if you generate value, you're rewarded for that value. So now here is you're participating in the game and you're generating the growth, the network effect, the value of that brand. You are rewarded through in-game currency and through in-game assets. Polis, the DAO, is the voting structure and the mechanism for what that looks like going forward, and it is an extraordinarily valuable part. It is what the Axes token represents, right? So just to be clear here, a lot of people are probably buying Atlas thinking that it's like Axie. It's not. Axie Infinity is the voting and governance token, right? So this $153 token is the governance token, whereas the Secret Love Potion, SLP here, I think it's called Secret Love, Smooth Love Potion. This is the in-game currency. This is what you are rewarded with, and you can buy and sell things within the game. Right, so that SLP is the equivalent to Star Atlas. So if you are interested in the sector, this is not financial advice, make sure you understand the difference between these two things and what the value of them are. I believe that the Polis DAO is undervalued, probably because it's just named differently. And We've seen this before in other ecosystems where people bought the wrong Zoom because it was not labeled correctly. They ended up buying a pink sheet, something or other. So it can be easy to think that when you type in Star Atlas, the thing that you want is the in-game currency, when the thing that's probably one of the most valuables is the voting mechanism and structure. Now, again, this is speculative. We're talking about things that have not, Star Atlas is not a fully functioning game like Axis, but they've taken a lot of the things that Axis has done right, and they're incorporating new things that they totally missed out on. So providing this level of interest and build is going to be monstrous in the results if they're successful. And that's why the speculation around the play to earn sector is so big right now. There's the potential for people, and billions of them, to earn more than their average wage playing a video game at the end, like for an extra few hours. And this is going to be the revolution for adoption that we've all been waiting for. So we are constantly focusing on finding new investments in this sector. And look, I don't know anything about video games. This isn't like betting on a layer one. The community adopting something, playing something, sharing it with their friends, sharing it with their family, that's a whole level of almost luck, right? What makes a famous artist is not necessarily the quality of their art. Like, for instance, anyone out there who's a fan of Basquiat, like I am, Basquiat, I can't spell, well, actually, nice, even gave me him for that too. It's not necessarily clear that this as an art piece would be a valuable art piece, right? But they are. These are costly. I believe this was the most expensive piece sold in history. No, it's this blue one. It sold for $140 million to this gentleman here. So when we're looking at this kind of arbitrarily idea of the value is in the eye of the hodler, then what we need to recognize is that with video games, with stuff like this, it's not as easy to pick the winners. We're relying on the team, we're relying on their community building. You know, when we first chatted with Michael and Pablo from Star Atlas, we really liked them. We're like, this is people we really like. You know, one of the defining moments of our conversation was like unified consciousness and psychedelic, like mushrooms, you know, like books like Dune by Frank Herbert, where they're breathing in the spice and they can see visions. Like, these are clearly renditions of entheogenic plants. So when we talk about these more sci-fi versions like the metaverse, we're usually talking to a group of people that like sci-fi or more psychedelic interests to begin with, and that's one of our favorite spots. So I liked their vision, and that's what we're looking for. You're looking for people that have the vision and that can share that vision with the community, because ultimately that's what makes them successful on the long term. So we're going to continue to invest in the play to earn sector. It's taken over the primary of our focus since May. I'm sure any of you guys who have watched our channel, you've noticed that. So super exciting. We'll keep you up to date. There's a few more things to look at. I think in your email inbox this week for all the private members, you will get the play to earn breakdown that we did for a few of the investments that we've made. Star Atlas is one of them. I bought more Star Atlas recently as well, both Polis and Atlas. Again, remember that Polis is one of the defining ways to the way you vote. It's like the Ethereum name server. It's the voting or governance structure, right? So that's really important to understand. I think a lot of people are, again, just going straight to buying Atlas, thinking that Atlas is the in-game voting token like Axes, and it's not. So keep that in mind. Let's do a few. We'll take a look at a few guys' thoughts and questions. We'll see where we're at here. Alex Kushner. We'll go with Alex's chat here. A big fan of Alex. Yeah, see, I disagree with Molucky Hex. They've already got a small game built. Just do more research. A lot of people don't listen to YouTube channels to try to discover all the information you need. Like, you have to go read and understand what's taking place here. It's really easy to get surface level stuff here, and there's a lot of great content creators. But definitely don't trust things in the chat. Like, don't expect anything to ever make anything. That's like the whole point of investing, is we're trying to see the future and bet on that. And you don't always get it right. Like, that's an underlying fact, but you can't single out Star Atlas. That doesn't make any sense. They're actually really well positioned to do and be successful. So I wouldn't ignore that. Alluvium was another great example. I didn't invest in that one. I wish we had, but again, trying to find the things that you like and the space that you like it is a learning process. Pro tip, looks a lot more realistic than what Star Citizen ever promised. Yeah, if you look at Star Atlas's, what do you call it? Augmented reality, Star Atlas is killing it. You just haven't done your homework, is what it sounds like. Yeah. I'm sorry, Malika Hex just doesn't know how these sectors work. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's okay though. It sounds like you're new here, Maliki Hex. I won't give you any further of a hard time, but I think you're clearly missing some important parts here. Let's take a look at a few more of your guys' thoughts and questions. Did I buy UFO? No, I did not there. Do you believe the metaverse will stay active during the bear market? Here's one of the things that I love about bull markets is that it's kind of like watching or hiking a mountain. As you get higher up the mountain, you get to see the next peaks, but we still have to go through a big valley before we get to the metaverse as people are talking about it today. So investing in the metaverse today is investing early, but we're not going to see it for 3 to 5 years. This is the same thing in 2017. We started to see the NFTs and the crypto kitties, but they didn't evolve and start to take shape and really show their potential until the next mountain cycle hits. So in 2017, you could see what 2020 was going to look like a few years into the future based off that speculation. And that's what's so fun about speculation is you get a glimpse of the future. It's your ability to decide what's going to happen in the future. A lot of people are like, oh, Amazon's selling books online. It's so silly. It's never going to work. The internet's a fad. They were all wrong. Why were they wrong? Is because they don't have the ability to look into the future and try to understand where we're going because they're too caught up in where they think we are today. This is why Kodak failed. This is why Kodak dropped the ball on owning the rights to digital photography. They had the guy in the R&D department produce the damn thing and like, next. If you were too caught up in the rigid mentality of where we are today, you're going to fail all the fun of enjoying the growth of the future. Let's take another thought and look here. Andrew Farr says, more wise words as always. Thank you for what you do, Tio. Irresponsibly long on Star Atlas here. Again, this is speculative. The one part that Loco Hex makes is that we're making a bet on the future, not today. And that's an important part to understand, is that the future is not yet decided, right? But that's why we've been able to do so well in the past, is because when Bitcoin was at $200, the future wasn't decided that it was going to go to 60,000. But you have to be able to make that risk, understanding the future potential to get it right in the first place. And most people don't, because like, well, they come up with all these things that are going to get in the way. Oh, well, it's just speculation. Oh, it's got this in the way. Oh, it costs too much. Everything that Malika, you've said here is the exact same thing that gets in the way of a good investor making a future speculation. As long as you repeat the mantra of heads I win, tails I only lose a little, you'll do extraordinarily well. Being pretentious here doesn't do anybody any good. Being exploratory and adventurous and learning new things does all the good from what I've learned. So thank you for that. DNA Confirmed says, can you Polis be staked? How does it earn value? Are you counting in the market increasing its value? Again, this is a part of the speculation of what happens if you have an in-game governance structure for revenue-generating characters that I can loan out as assets within the game. Axies doesn't have that. They can add it. It would be great if they added it. Right now, Ethereum is basically worthless or useless. It's worth something, but it's useless for this particular type of avenue. I am very bullish on Web3 and Solana. We've said this multiple times. I think the majority of the social Web3 development is going to happen on Solana, and I'm a long-term, big investor in Avalanche as the DeFi space. I think Ethereum could be nothing but a crypto punk and crypto kitty chain in the future unless it gets its act together. It could lose a lot of the value that it's locked up because people are going to go where the yield is higher and where the costs are cheaper. We saw that with Binance, and Avalanche provides all that. But I think Solana, the speed, the team, their focus is highly developed in this particular vertical and niche in the play to earn and the post earn sector, which is most of the regular UI UX for how people will connect to this digital meta money verse. So irresponsibly long in Avalanche for the DeFi sector and Solana for the Web3 sector. I am not irresponsibly long on anything in Ethereum. I do own Ethereum, and I will never sell it. Even if it goes all the way to zero, great. That means prove me wrong. Like, I want to be proven wrong. I still have assets there, but I run my life off an intuitive basis. It's been right many times before. It's been wrong, but it's been right more times than it's been wrong. So I just trust that. I have a feeling, and I go with it. Whatever that's worth. There's no fundamentals there, but I don't really care. I live in the middle of the jungle, grow ayahuasca. I don't need fundamentals for some of my thoughts. I'm confident with them because it's worked in the past. So we're focusing heavily into Solana for Web3, social, play to earn, post to earn things, Avalanche for the DeFi sector, and then just broad spectrum Bitcoin as the real monetary layer for everything else to where we generate value into these ecosystems. We'll do one or two more questions. Oh yeah, so how can it be staked? A lot of that stuff, sorry, DNA confirmed, it will be built into what's happening. And it's likely that you'll be able to accrue revenue and assets from the staking, but more importantly, it's about the in-game play and the community that's being built around that. Building community is not an easy thing. And the video game creators act as a big gatekeeper for the community of video game players. And what I love about this ecosystem, it removes a lot of the middlemen. And if you generate a video game that gives the original video game players the ability to vote and have more ownership of the asset that's being generated, then they're going to do better on the long term. And therefore, you're going to get a better video game and a better community that supports the video game because they're all being incentivized for that process. It's unimaginably more powerful than the old Web 2 system that we have. And I really think people, whatever you think it can do, you're probably underestimating it. Okay, last thought, I got to jump on another call here. Always fun to chat with you guys. I had a pleasure today. Remember to give us a thumbs up if you like this content. And we'll see you guys again on the next episode. Yeah, thank you for all the support. We're just going to dive off here. We'll give you our intro logo.